What the hell did I just watch?
Vamos, filho! Sai goleiro! Sai goleiro! Ah, que isso, mano?
Once hailed as the greatest show on earth, this was the team of legends with Ronaldo.
Atención, ese balón que le queda muerto a Ronaldo. Ronaldo dentro del área. La jugada individual de Ronaldo. Ronaldo. Jugadón de Ronaldo y el balón que sale.
Pelé.
As Pelé is running. Is Pelé? Pelé now! Yes, there it is! That is the touch of a master!
Ronaldinho.
And now Brazil on the counter-attack can be so deadly. Ronaldinho has the beating of Gerrard. Gerrard, though, recovers. Ronaldinho gets it back and slips it through the centre. Was there a shirt tug there from Ledley King?
Together, they wrote the definition of jogo bonito, the most beautiful and captivating style of football on the planet.
Jogo bonito was Ronaldo Nazário, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo. You paid to watch these players. You wanted to watch these players. Even if you were Italian, you were German, you were Nigerian, you were Japanese, you were Iranian, you were Uruguayan, you wanted to watch the Brazilian national team.
And looking at reality today, what do we have?
Is this the worst generation that Brazil have produced in terms of going into a major tournament like this?
Yeah, it's up there, and the fans feel the same. They didn't just have world-class players, JD. They had generational world-class players. What's the difference? Generational stars, players that come around maybe every 10, 20, 30 years, maybe that we never see again. How many players on this team do they have that we could classify as generational? We're not seeing that level of quality across the board.
80,663 spectators filled MetLife Stadium in a sea of yellow shirts. Yet what they witnessed was a shocking result. Brazil drew 1-1 with Morocco.
For me personally, as the game wore on, it became a little bit disappointing.
They have moments, but they don't frighten you. Spain and France, although they don't always play well, would frighten me more.
It was not exactly a defeat, but sometimes a draw can feel even worse than a loss, and this time was one of those bitter exceptions.
That was one of the worst Brazilian performances I have seen as a viewer of soccer.
What a half. I just gotta say, Brazil, what are you doing? All year.
Not only did Morocco take the lead in the first half, but they also produced a remarkably dominant display with 12 shots at Brazil's goal. Faced with that impressive figure, the five-time world champions could only respond weakly with 6 attempts of their own, accepting complete inferiority in the shot count at 12-6 during the opening half alone. The midfield trio of Casemiro, Paqueta, Guimarães sounds magnificent on paper, but the reality on the pitch was a completely different story. While Casemiro was constantly isolated in front of the backline, both Paqueta and Guimarães looked utterly lost. They hesitated between pushing forward to press and dropping back to cover the spaces behind them, standing there like customers endlessly flipping through a menu without ever deciding what to order. Every time Brazil lost possession, their midfield was ripped apart by Morocco's simple combinations. No elaborate techniques, no crazy pressing. Just one direct pass was enough to expose the yellow and green defence. But all of those cracks were merely the opening act for the real disaster that arrived in the 21st minute.
Diaz sifting it through here for Saibari!
Morocco's opening goal did not come from a genius team move, but simply from a straightforward pass. Yet it was enough to split 2 world-class centre-backs, Gabriel and Marquinhos, as if they were invisible. But the manner of the equaliser revealed all of their problems.
Vinícius Jr again. Vinícius Jr lashes in the equaliser!
The goal carried no tactical imprint, no system whatsoever. It was simply a one-man show from Vini, carrying the team and solving everything by himself. Yet Vini's moment of brilliance was not enough to rescue an awful performance. In the second half, the match became completely lifeless as both teams lost rhythm and quality. Not a single clear-cut chance was created, leaving fans in the stands staring at one another and wondering, is this the World Cup or a morning exercise session?
I'm very disappointed in Brazil. Vini did good, but he went ghost after the second half. Mateo Cunha, I'm very disappointed. He did practically all cardio, but I need them to win the group.
I think Brazil has a lot of things to improve.
But the peak of Brazilian fans' frustration went far beyond the poor performance itself, because what angered them most was a story that never even happened on the pitch. Looking at Brazil's team sheet that night, there was one painfully obvious absence: Endrick. At just 19 years old, he is the nation's greatest hope, the player entrusted with carrying off Ronaldo Nazario's legacy. His pre-World Cup form had also been highly convincing, producing 5 goals and 7 assists in only 16 League One appearances for Lyon. Yet in the very moment when Brazil looked completely out of ideas and desperately needed a spark to find a second goal, Ancelotti stubbornly refused to give Endrick even a single second on the field.
Péssimo! O Ancelotti entrou muito mal, gente, primeiro tempo. Se ele entrasse com o Danilo, entendeu? O Fabinho, como ele entrou no segundo tempo, talvez não tomaria o gol do Marrocos, entendeu? E também tá perdendo muito gol, por quê? Não entrou com o Endrick, por quê, Ancelotti? Que panela é essa?
What is Ancelotti's problem with Endrick? Because when he was at Real Madrid, he wasn't giving him any minutes, but it was understandable because he had Mbappe there. But for Brazil, there's no Mbappe. Mbappe is not there. You have Igor Thiago. You're starting Igor Thiago there.
No, eu não estou aqui para falar individualmente do jogador. Eu hablo do equipo. O equipo na primeira parte não jogou bem, na segunda parte melhor. Tivemos algumas oportunidades, temos que acertar mais.
And naturally, nobody in the press room was fooled. More importantly, this was not the first time it had happened. Endrick had already been overlooked by Ancelotti at Real Madrid, to the point that he had to leave for Lyon on loan simply to play football. Now, on the grandest stage of all, the World Cup, history appears to be repeating itself in cruel fashion. Their relationship seems to be exactly that. A stubborn old man refusing to trust the most talented youngster Brazilian football currently possesses.
And so he made a big decision, and it worked for him. The centre-forward Thiago, who I think had a really good season for Brentford, looked out of his depth, didn't really get hold of the ball, didn't make any runs in behind. So I'd be surprised if he starts the game. Cunha came on. So I think Ancelotti will make big decisions.
What the hell were you thinking? Why didn't Endrick play this match? He was the best player on the field. And when he comes in, good things happen. This game seemed tailor-made for him. Does Carlo Ancelotti have a personal issue with Endrick? Because he should have played today.
That injustice forces us to look deeper, to take a longer and more honest look at where Brazil truly stands today. Let us return to 2002 and the era of the legendary 3R, Ronaldo, Rivaldo and Ronaldinho.
Gaúcho, ele pega na bola a primeira vez, a galera gosta. Foi pra cima do Sori, abriu espaço, capricha garoto, botou pro Ronaldinho, bateu pro gol, não vale mais nada. Vampeta, bom lançamento, capricha Ronaldinho Gaúcho. Agora só para lá dentro, pé direito, bateu, tocou no goleiro, insiste o Brasil, olha o gol. Gol! Não está valendo, não. Não está valendo. Se partiu Vampeta, chegou o Rivaldo, driblou, botou na frente e bateu. Gol!
They were 3 unstoppable weapons of destruction, allowing Brazil to play football at incredible speed, with relentless attacks and unpredictable changes of direction. With 8 goals that terrorised opponents and secured the Golden Boot, Ronaldo concluded the tournament with a famous brace against Germany in the final. Alongside him stood a majestic Rivaldo, who scored 5 goals and was voted player of the tournament. That galaxy of stars was completed by Ronaldinho, whose impossible 40-metre free kick sailed over David Seaman and into England's net in the quarter-finals, an iconic masterpiece that people are still talking about 24 years later. That was once a Brazil that made the entire world stop and admire them, a team whose ability to win never needed questioning because the answer seemed so obvious it was almost redundant. And yet today, reality is a 24-year trophy drought, accompanied by 4 consecutive World Cups ending at or before the quarter-finals. The tragedy stretches from 2006 and 2010 to the infamous 7-1 humiliation against Germany on home soil in 2014, before continuing with quarter-final eliminations in both 2018 and 2022. Then, in 2026, they opened their campaign with a lifeless draw against Morocco.
You know, we could have our own opinions about how good this Brazil team is and how deep they go in the tournament. Every single Brazilian thinks that this team should be winning the tournament. So that's a unrealistic expectation on their part just to start with. And then you see the start they've had, in my opinion, happier with the point. My biggest concern about Brazil as a team coming into this was how heavy that yellow shirt is and whether they had the personalities to carry it.
Even Ronaldinho, the soul of the golden generation of 2002, bitterly declared in 2024 that he would boycott watching the Seleção at the Copa America.
O que esperar do Brasil na Comembol Copa América? Não vou assistir nenhum jogo, faltando tudo. Garra, alegria, faltando jogar bem, então não vou assistir nenhum jogo. Você abandonar o Brasil? Vou abandonar o Brasil. Por que você tá tão pessimista? Porque as coisas não estão andando bem. Eu nunca tinha falado isso daí antes. Tá faltando garra, faltando entrega, faltando tudo.
He bluntly described the squad as a collection of ordinary players lacking love for the legendary yellow shirt. But if even a legend like Ronaldinho no longer wants to watch, then the criticism from the international media after this draw with Morocco becomes an even deeper wound. After the final whistle, international media outlets overwhelmingly concluded that Morocco were the more coherent and deserving team for most of the match. The African side completely controlled proceedings through impressive game management and a clearly defined tactical structure in both halves. By contrast, Brazil's equaliser was widely viewed as nothing more than an isolated moment of brilliance, created solely through Vinícius Jr.'s individual genius, rather than reflecting the strength of the team as a whole.
And if Brazil are going to do well, he has to shine. That's fantastic. But again, I don't think it's necessarily the best version of Brazil when he's having to play in that manner.
Brazil never looked dangerous. I think Brazil didn't create as much as we would imagine. But like I said, I think overall wasn't a good performance and the balance of the team wasn't right. The middle never got the control of the game, and we know how important is the midfield for the team.
I'm not sure we're going to see the best of Brazil. Yes, they're going to be competitive, but for me, they're not winning it.
The word concern has flooded headlines when describing a team that has won the World Cup 5 times. Even Vinícius, the only player who could truly be excused that night, bitterly admitted that the team had started terribly and insisted that Brazil must keep the ball better and move with greater fluidity.
É jogo muito difícil, o Marrocos é uma excelente equipe, a gente sabia que ia ser jogo complicado por ser a estreia, por ser contra o Marrocos, onde já é uma equipe que joga junto há muito tempo, chegaram na final da Copa África e tem o seu valor, a gente precisa melhorar para ganhar os próximos jogos.
Amid the storm of criticism, the Stars' reflection at least suggests that someone in the dressing room still has the courage to look in the mirror and hold themselves accountable. Looking at the bigger picture, Brazil still have 2 group stage matches against Haiti and Scotland to determine their own destiny. Mathematically, they should qualify comfortably. However, if they carry this same lifeless style into the knockout rounds against France, Argentina, or any genuine heavyweight, the Seleção simply will not survive. This harsh reality is hitting Carlo Ancelotti like a bucket of cold water after he arrived at this tournament carrying the weighty promise of restoring Brazil to the summit of world football.
Después 24 años, es hora que el equipo nacional se gane el mundial. Tenemos una grande responsabilidad en este sentido para trabajar a lo mejor que podemos trabajar y na verdade estamos fazendo esto. Se deve estar trabalhando muito bem para chegar à Copa do Mundo na melhor condição possível.
A grand promise, yet after 90 nerve-wracking minutes in New Jersey, the commitment looks more fragile and distant than ever. To rescue the situation, Brazil must make immediate changes, beginning with personnel decisions. Endrick has to play, not because of sentimentality, but because of pure football logic. A team desperate for goals has no reason to keep a teenage striker who is thriving at Lyon trapped on the bench. At the same time, the midfield must rediscover a clear tactical structure, because 3 elite names standing next to each other on a tactics board never automatically guarantees chemistry on the pitch. More importantly than anything else, this group must remember that they represent a 5-time world champion, not a brand living off past glory. Although Brazil have now extended their unbeaten streak in World Cup opening matches to 21 games and have not lost an opener since 1934, avoiding defeat has never been the same as playing well, and playing well alone is still not enough to win the trophy. The world is still watching them, but no longer with the admiration once reserved for Ronaldo or Ronaldinho. Now, people watch with doubts and questions. A 24-year trophy drought has just been extended by a disappointing draw against Morocco. It is time for a true awakening, Brazil, before time stops waiting for you. If you enjoy our video, don't forget to hit like to help this video reach to other football lovers, and hit the subscribe button to follow for more interesting videos about football stories. See you in the next video.